I want to start the session with the man who gave us the loans so that we can get our degrees for those of us who managed. So, Mr. Ringera, what strategic considerations do you make or do you think about when you're thinking of investing in technology for customer experience? What are those strategic thoughts? You know, what is the conversation with the board? What your strategic considerations?
Thank you, Benta. We are coming, actually, as a board, we are coming to an end of our strategic plan, what you are calling 2013-2018. And I joined the board in 2013, and that time we were struggling. One of them was to get enough monies for students to be able to go to school. The budget allocations from Treasury were very small. The balance sheet size was small. It was about 33 billion. We had a debt book of about 9 billion, which was not being repaid. So funding students, and you do remember 2013, 2014, we had a lot of street fights. Today, don't access university, it will be blocked until help speeds. So those were some of the challenges that we thought we were experiencing then. And one of the clear strategic decisions then the board did then, fortunately, I was joining with a new board completely. And my chairman then was also coming from the industry. So things to do with customer experience and customer conversations were not anything new for him. And we decided to put in a strategic plan where, although we are pillars in terms of finances, in terms of processes, in terms of automation, in terms of the board capacity, the foundation of that must be founded on a first-class customer experience. We had realized that we needed to work with the students so that they can know when we delay money to them is because maybe Treasury, the resources have not come through. You can, for those who work in government, welcome John, now you understand government. You can get allocation, but it doesn't mean you have the money. So you get, first of all, budgetary allocation, then you must be able to access the capitation. Actually, the name capitation means it will be capitated over a 12-month period. So one round, I have to make a payment of about 3 billion shillings. And if I've been allocated 7 billion, then it means 7 billion will be paid over a 12-month period. So you can already start understanding where we'll have problems in terms of how do we then fund the students, and then they want their boom now and now, not tomorrow. Those things you are discussing in Treasury about, it is capitation or not. And so we thought maybe we needed to go and start conversation with the stakeholders so that they can be able to understand us. My biggest customer then was the MP for Mbakazi, Babu. We have walked the journey until now he is able to make policies in regard to how help should be funded. And we are very excited. That has only happened because our foundation then was based on, what we say we want to excite our customers. And that is where the foundation was, on customer service. And we consistently wanted to beat exactly what the customer expects us to do. So if you want and we'll give you a loan in a day, we give you in half a day. And that way then you get excited, and hopefully you'll be excited to pay us back. Because when you pay then us back, then we are able to fund another student rather than the student actually going to the street. And remember, if you thought you're actually having a transforming customer, ours is worse. Those things that you continue to tell them that Help Cap 2013 says, that guy is not interested with that. Show me where to put by biometric, not to fill a form, so that I can take a loan and tell me when the loan is coming. As to the terms, those things you call terms and conditions, those are yours. So in fact, if you look at the loan form now, we have made it much smaller because the fonts are now much, they are quite small. So that because they are not interested with that. At the end of the day, because it's a contract, then it must be signed, of course. And so we engaged actually Karo Gaduru. I think I saw her around sometimes earlier on. And we wanted to hear the voice of the customer. And she helped us in terms of understanding, that customer journey and seeing what exactly does that customer want. The ones who are repaying, the ones who are potential borrowers, what do they want to hear? And now, if you look at our next plan, which we are now trying to cobble together, we are in the market now looking for actually a validator. We're almost like 80% of doing it. We are calling it Help Agenda 2019-2023. The central thing that we learned from Carol's research was we will have to put this customer in the middle, so that everything else, whether it is technology, whether it is money, whether it is people, whether it is risk management, everything then focuses on the customer. So we have now a pillar at the middle of our dashboard, which we are calling customer customer-centered leadership. And therefore, that tells you all the resources that we are going to garner of that balance sheet size now of about 70 billion will all be focused on that customer, because we have realized that is actually a cash cow. If we don't serve that customer well, then it means that the issue of sustainability in terms of moving forward health, then we will have a very difficult situation. So budgetary allocations, if you look at them today, they are all focused on how do we excite that customer, so that that customer, in his days of glory, can be able to remember us.
Thank you. We really appreciate that. I just want to find out from Mr. Manoj Shankar. So yes, we have had this plan, and the strategic considerations, I think, have been laid out for us well. So when you are thinking about technology, and you mentioned to me this morning that you're not a BPO, you're actually a technology company. So when you are thinking about customer experience and technology and their interdependence, in your experience, have you found an optimal mix, a balance where you can say this is the sweet spot where experience and technology work well?
Okay. First of all, I think to answer this question, we need to understand what's happening in the industry, what's happening in the technology sphere. And I think Julius presented a first slide. That was a great slide, where today we are living in a very fast and dynamic world. The change what we are experiencing today is that did not happen in last 10 years, is happening in last 1 year. And the change is happening now. A lot of people still believe that it's going to happen maybe in 2 years or 3 years or 5 years time. But very few people are actually realizing is the change is slightly happening, and it's happening right now. And I think everybody knows that customer is key and is a focal point for our business. But how many people are actually able to imagine that what are the ways to now look at the same customer in a different way? And what is the role of technology in meeting those customer expectations? Okay. So I think here there is a role for technology in a big way, and because be it a banking industry, insurance industry, agriculture, healthcare, we talked about 4 big agenda for the government here. Technology is an integral part of it. And this technology is changing very rapidly. And we're talking about the balance. Now I'll give examples about several industries where technology is actually disrupting the business. So especially in the area of banking and insurance, I think those industries today, they cannot do a standard approach to see this is what I'm going to invest and this is what I'm going to get the return today. Okay. If you have that approach, probably you are going to be in the losing end. But the way it is changing now is that what is coming in terms of new technology, for example, artificial intelligence and the blockchain. We're talking about robotic process automation. We're talking about big data and cloud. These are some of the key technology everybody's talking about. But what's also heartening to know that in a country like Kenya, there is a huge amount of enthusiasm among the young people. And the young people are today trying to learn these technology, and they are going to be the feeder for the industry. So it's a very interesting and a very dynamic field. And I'm not sure, even in the audience here, there are many people without knowing, maybe experiencing the artificial intelligence. Yeah. So when it comes to a company like TechnoBrain, what is the balance which we have to derive between adapting the technology and the customer experience? We are thinking radically different. Yeah. And we are not trying to be a catching up kind of a game, or trying to be in the front, leading the technology and giving some of the solutions that we have.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. So if I followed that correctly, just trying to summarize, is that there is a big role for technology in experience. And in order to find that sweet spot, then we have to realize that it's changing rapidly. So what might be an optimal balance today might not hold tomorrow.
Absolutely.
The other thing I've heard you say very, very clearly is around disruption, the standard approach, and we have to think about big data. I'm glad you spoke about artificial intelligence. I'm sure we'll be having more conversation around that. And thinking radically different. So thanks for that insight. It really just says experience has to move in the same pace. Thank you. Thank you. So, Mr. Kipngetich, we ended the morning session by saying we've got to live free. But as we live free, I'm sure there has to be a return on investment. So when you think about customer experience, technology, you are making a return on investment for the shareholder. There must be some things that make you sleep easy and some things that give you nightmares when you think about that return on investment as we live free. Could you just give us a little insight about that?
A large company like KQ, if an unfortunate event that one of the planes crashes, God forbid, you know, an insurance company is shaking. Do you have the liquidity to pay those claims? Because then you have carried that risk. And so, I mean, if you look at, say, insurance as such, I mean, the insurance industry works on the rules of probability. So the risks they are carrying are in trillions, but the premiums that they have collected is in billions. So you must ask yourself, so how do they do it? It's all probability. What is the historical chance that that event will occur? And so therefore you price the premium accordingly. So what it means therefore for us is we must first of all understand the customer very well, okay, and the customer behavior and patterns. Once you understand the customer behavior and patterns and the risk profile, then you price. The actuaries then come and say, we do the number crunching and we price that risk and we say, the probability of this risk occurring is 1 out of 10. And so therefore, the price for this risk is you pay 1,000 shillings per month. So it is very important that we understand customer data, keeping the records well. So one of the projects we are doing in Jubilee now is keeping our records well, okay? Just like banks. Banks, by the way, keep records very well because then they run a daily thing. Now insurance companies like, you know, the guy pays at the end of the month, so relax in between. As it is, we now want to understand the customer data because even the date and the time that transaction occurred is important because then we can discern a pattern, okay? Then the other thing is we want to also make sure that the organization is earning money past the closing hours of the branch. The banks do the same. They have an ATM, you go and withdraw. They get a commission. Okay? So they have a mobile app. You can do transactions, transaction income. So we also want to make sure that we earn money beyond the closing hours. And then the other thing also is then use technology platforms to ensure that some of the interactions with customers are automated. If you go to Jubilee website, we have an artificial intelligence system called a chatbot. The chatbot then assists the customer without any human intervention. Only until you encounter more difficult things, then you graduate. So go to our website. The chatbot is Julie, not Julie the lady. It actually means Jubilee Intelligence Expert, not Julie. Yes. So just that the acronym fitted a female, and then of course the shape of the character is female. Because women are nice. Okay? So the thing is, when you put all these things together, you're actually making an investment for the long term. Sometimes, you know, the finance expert in the company might say, oh, this is too much this year, you know, can we restrict? What I would like to say is that it is like putting a foundation in a house. You know, if this hotel was built, there was somebody dug the foundations deep enough to put the pillars to hold the building together. So, and it's going to hold it for another 100 years or more. So it's the same thing with customer experience. You must put very deep foundation. Those deep foundations means investing in technology and then also the accompanying behaviors of the employees, which is the culture. They must be very, very deep. And with those ones now, then you amortize them over a long period of time. So tell your accountants, these things are going to be, the investments are going to be spread over a long period of time, so allocate, which is depreciation, allocate these things over a longer period. So then they will understand. But if you tell them you're going to expand in the first year, they say, that's too much. Okay? And then they could now constrain you. But if you know that you're going to allocate these costs over a long period of time, then they might say, okay, it's reasonable. But it's very important that organizations must look at investment in customer experience as an investment with a return rather than an expense. If they see it as an expense, then they will put you on a guilty trip and say you are spending too much. But you're actually putting the foundations for the return for the company in future.
So you are CEOs of organizations across the array. Just as we finalize, what discussion between your experienced teams and your technology teams would give you the comfort that, yes, your message is down with your teams? So I'll start with you, Mr. Manoj Shankar.
Today, is the ROI is focused on the profit, or actually ROI is focused on the customer experience, customer's pain point. Today, gone are the days of, you call a bank, for example, and it asks you to punch 1 for English, punch 2 for Swahili, and then it'll ask you for your account number, and then by the time actually you want to say what you want, you are already frustrated, right? So now imagine if you call and they exactly know that who you are, yeah? And so this is the kind of changes that is happening in the industry, not only in financial sector, but also across various other industry. I'll give another example of Wimbledon tennis. I guess all of you must be knowing about it. Wimbledon is watched by millions of people all over the world. And there are a lot of people who can't sit and watch a 5-hour tennis match. So they would like to see a highlight. So now they are finding, how do you address these customers who can't watch live, but would like to spend a nice evening watching the highlights of the Wimbledon? And they're using an artificial intelligence technology with millions of data points. We're actually seeing the expressions of the players, yeah, and seeing the reaction of those expressions of the players. So, and this is run completely by an artificial intelligence. And the highlight is automatically designed based on the expressions and the reactions and the entire experience what you have in the ground. So when you see the highlight, it's a phenomenal experience. And now you can charge a premium by asking the advertising agency to pay more for airing the highlights. So that's the kind of example. There are other examples which is quite remarkable. For example, in take care of healthcare. We healthcare, for example, all across Sub-Saharan Africa, maybe in most of the developing world, we are having a lot of challenges when it comes to drug, authenticity of the drug. When you buy a medicine from the pharmacy, how do you know that it is actually a genuine drug? And imagine if it's not a genuine drug. It can cause serious problems. It can even cause death. Yeah? And unfortunately, the truth is there are a lot of fake drugs out there in the market. Now, everybody talked about blockchain industry. Blockchain industry is not only designed for customer care for banking and insurance or many other very financial kind of services driven organizations. Now, the same blockchain industry today is being used to track the drug right from the source it's been manufactured to the distribution to the pharmacy. So now if you go and buy a drug from a pharmacy and you have any doubt, actually you can go to the blockchain link and actually certify that the drug actually you picked up is actually a genuine one. So imagine the impact of this technology to our health and the millions of people who suffer from fake drugs.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. I think that's quite clear how you'll be able to just see the link and get the assurance because, as you said, it can cause death. What a way to end the session. Thank you very much, Dr. Julius Kipngetich, Mr. Charles Ringera, and Mr. Manoj Shankar. We are really privileged that you're able to have this session with us. Thank you very much. A round of applause for them.